Today I want to talk about making decisions as an EJ. So if you are an ESFJ or an ESTJ or an ENFJ or an ENTJ, you are an EJ personality type, and I want to talk to you about making decisions today because how you make decisions is very different than the other personality types. As an EJ, your lead cognitive function is that of extroverted thinking. And what that means is when making decisions, you're going to go to the tribe, so to speak. You're going to go to the people, those whose opinion that matters. You're going to try to get consensus on the decision that's being made. So if there's a decision to be made, for instance, in my world, we're making decisions based on whether or not we should go back and worship this week or next week. Churches have kind of been closed. So one of the biggest decisions we're making during this COVID pandemic is, when do we reopen churches? So the EJ's natural decision-making tendency will be able to poll people, to poll others even, and try to get a consensus of what the people want to do. I've seen several resources saying you should poll your people, you should survey your people when making a decision. Now that is a perfect EJ way of thinking to get information so then the best informed decision can be made, whether it's extroverted thinking for the ESTJ and ENTJ, what is logical, or whether it's extroverted feeling for the ESFJ and the ENFJ, what do people want? So this is what they're trying to figure out. What makes sense, or what do people want? And the EJ will poll people, they will ask people, and they will try to get a consensus and then make the decision based on what is the popular thing to do, or clearly the most logical thing to do, as the other people have said. So if you're an EJ, you're using your extroverted decider then to make decisions. But you also have something called an introverted decider. This is what you think is logical or what you think is valuable. Now, half the people in the world, so to speak, will primarily make decisions based on that introverted decider. And the other half of the people, all EJs and some other personality types, they will make decisions based on what they think the people want. And so obviously you see the good and bad in both. We can't always make decisions based on what people think is right, and we can't always make decisions based on what we personally think is right. There has to be, many times in leadership, a common ground. So if you're an EJ, knowing that you're more likely to try to get consensus, and many times you're going to think that's the best way to always do things, it's not always the best way. If you're a leader, God has put you in a place where you're at, or you're in a job or something, to make decisions. Many times in the church world, you've been voted in to that position by the congregation, by a committee, things like this. And so the congregation wants someone to follow, the organization wants someone to follow and give direction. They don't always want you to just go right back to them and say, what do you think? Oh, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? So the EJ struggle is to start deciding, what is it that I think is right? What do I think is the right thing to do? Whether it's a logical decision, whether it is a values-based decision, still probably not a bad idea to get some feedback from some trusted people, some people who also might be in leadership positions, but then make a decision and then let that tribe, that congregation know, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going. Obviously, there are times where it's beneficial to get tribe feedback, but not all the time. And it's hard to lead as an EJ if you're constantly getting feedback from here and feedback from there and feedback from here. Sometimes you just have to make the decision and understand that people want someone to lead with a vision of what is right, with a vision of where we need to go. And sometimes that has to be something that only you have. And one of the reasons EJs will not make that decision is because they fear the tribe reaction. If they can get enough feedback from people, they can say, and they make the decision, say, hey, this is what you want, or this is what made sense. Don't blame me. But in leadership, you're going to get the blame whether you get consensus feedback or not. You can get as much consensus feedback and make a decision, and people are still going to blame you because ultimately it was your decision, no matter what the feedback was. So in leadership as an EJ, you have to be good and you have to learn how to take that criticism that you're going to get. You're going to get it whether you make an internal decision or an external decision. If you're using your introverted decider or your extroverted decider, you're going to get negative and positive feedback. So The leadership lesson today for the EJ is trust your values, trust your internal logic. You have been put in this position for a reason, and sometimes you just got to make a decision what you think's right, what you think is best.